Okay, so it's been a little while, a few days since I did the brakes, and I must say, as a little update, the brakes are now fantastic. It stops, it actually slows down, you know, and that's all I ask for the brakes really. Front and rear discs and pads all brand new now, so it stops fantastically. It does appear that the people before were just topping up the brake fluid as well, as of course the pads were grinding down to the steel, because the amount of brake fluid that overflowed wasn't watching the master cylinder. When I pushed the brake pistons back out, ended up with a little spillage on the driveway there. No harm done, but make sure you clean it off your paintwork because it's quite corrosive if you do it yourself. Anyway, challenge now is to get something done on the rear window. So the rear windscreen wiper was something that you may, if you haven't seen the first video, was never present on the car. It doesn't have a rear wiper, and the rear motor that's in there is missing the little control box, so it just doesn't work at all. With the weather being like it is at the minute, I could really do with a rear wiper. So it's something that I really want to get sorted. Been on eBay looking for a little while. New units are really expensive. Like a couple £100 for a new wiper motor. Plus you got to buy the arm, because I haven't got the wiper arm. They're about 50-60 quid. So you're talking 250 quid minimum. If you're going to buy the rear bits. Well, I'm not into spending that sort of money on a wiper. So looking on used parts, as we're trying to do this on a budget, I managed to come across a used, apparently workable rear wiper motor for about 60 quid. Managed to get the guy to chuck in the wiper arm and everything as well, and the nut as well, because I don't even have the nut to attach the wiper. Now, it's in pretty poor condition. Have a look at the picture now. So we've got a little bit of work to do to make this serviceable and make it decent enough to go on and work. And you might also notice that the rear nozzle cap, there's a cap that goes over the spindle, which is where the actual washer fluid comes out of, and it's supposed to be redirected by means of a sort of plastic cap which sprays it onto the rear window. That has not come with it. Now, you know, can't ask for everything, I suppose, and you can't buy them. I can't really see just the cap. You can buy the whole wiper arm assembly, which is like 50-60 quid. But again, we're on a budget, we're not really looking at doing it like that. So I've got to think of a bodge for that. And I have come across something, have a look at this now. That is something I've ordered for £1, 99p off eBay, which is actually meant, I think, for either Honda or Seat. And I'm going to use, or attempt to use that to solve the problem. Let's go and do it. Okay, finally a job where I don't need to be on my back under the car with gloves and oil everywhere. Great thing about working in the back of the car is you get this lovely working platform, put all your tools on. Okay, when you want to get to the rear wiper motor and any of the rear camera gubbins as well, it's all under this plastic cover just up here. It just pulls off, it's just plastic pins pushing into little retainers. Just carefully prise it away, it'll come straight off, and then you can get right into the motor. Let's have a look, to give you a closer look. So this wiper motor had failed before. This is not part of it. Someone's obviously been attaching wires to test the motor, and this shouldn't be on there. This is part of it, and that should have gone to there. We're going to get rid of the whole thing anyway, and I'll show you something that was missing on it as well. Here are my two units. This is the dead one, we've just taken off the car. This is the very poor condition, although sort of thrown in for free, rear wiper arm that I asked for. I have the actual wiper blade as well, and the wiper blade's in quite good nick actually, so this is the thing we're going to need to clean up in a minute. And this here, this is the whole unit that arrived. This little black box here is what is not present on my unit, that's why I can't use it. So let's get busy. Oh, one thing I just wanted to point out, I noticed on closer inspection, and if you can see this, the end here, this is where the washer jet is. The water is pumped out through the spindle here. I don't know if you can quite see, it's clogged up in this one I've just received. So it's not going to spray at the moment. My one actually isn't. So I've got an indication of how clear it should be from mine there. But let's get cleaning this up and see what we can do with it.
Some of the crumbly bits just sort of coming out.
Okay, if you can quite see, probably not. The end opens up at that sort of diameter that you can see the dark bit, and then it narrows to probably 1 or 2 millimeters inside, which is the main channel for the washer jet fluid to come out. I've just removed a load of the crumbly gunk that was stuck in the end, and it looks relatively clear inside. So I'm hoping with a spray, once we plug it all in and get it going, it'll, you know, jet a load of water through there and clear it out. Then comes the challenge of fitting something on the end so that every time I put the rear wiper on, it doesn't just squirt water at the people driving behind me. I didn't know what was in here. For all I knew, it could have been a few, just a little terminal box, but it is not just a terminal box. It's got a few ICs and things all on a circuit board, so it obviously does some logic solving with the signals it gets from the, I don't know, probably off the CAN bus on the car, who knows. Wire brush, dead simple. Swiss Army knife, never leave home without it. Really, really useful. You may see me use this quite a few times. In fact, I used it with the brakes as well. All sorts of little tools on this thing, which are dead handy in many, many situations. Let's just give it
Scrape a load of gunk off here to start with. Let's see where we are.
the spring off here. So the spring inside, let's get it off and then let's see what we can do. Okay, so we can bend the unit back now and start to clean the inside of that and then oil it up a little bit. Really, this wants a lot more rubbing down and well, really it wants replacing, but but what we're going to do is just give it a bit of a rub down. Let's see if I got some black hammerite. Oh no, in fact I haven't. Perhaps I can touch it up with that another day. I just want to get it on the car, see if we can get it on and wiping the back window to start with. This seems pretty good. We'll just give this a bit of an oil up now. First, let's get the spoiler off. Something I didn't do before, but of course the spoiler covers where the wiper is, so we can't get to it, and if it sprays, it's going to spray all inside the sort of hood of the rear spoiler, if that makes any sense. So let's get the spoiler off and get better access to the spindle. It's also going to give us access to be able to fit the wiper arm on anyway. So let's do that now. Okay, easiest way to do this bit is to drop the top part of the tailgate down, leave the bottom part out so you can kneel or stand on this. And then this is what we're going to remove. Now this is loose now because we've just pulled the bolts off. We just need to slide this back, and I don't know if I can do it with one hand. There you go. It starts to come back a little bit. See that? There we go. And the whole unit will just lift up and out. Okay, I'm going to do this with two hands, and then I'll show you. Okay, so underneath here, if you've not had this off before, I've had it off because I've been looking at the rear camera and all sorts. There's a couple of grommets here that take cables through, one for the rear brake light, just by my hand there, and then the other cable is what goes to the reverse light, reverse camera, sorry. We're just going to leave those in place at the moment. I'm not going to mess about with them, just push it back, just give us access to this part here. And then we're just going to turn the rear wiper on, see if it starts turning around and spraying anything. It is turning, that's for sure. See if we can draw some fluid up and get some. Nothing yet. Nothing's coming out yet. I'm going to try sucking the fluid through.
It's like a barb fitting, so it doesn't want to come off very easily, so I'm just cutting it off to the side.
I'm just wondering whether my oil suction gun that came, I've used it to do some things on the car already. I wonder if we can draw some of the fluid. It's got a long way to come. Okay, that was washer fluid. Let's get it hooked up and see if it'll spray now. Well, it looks like the washer jet might just be blocked more than I thought, so let's have a closer look. Okay, so I don't know if the problem is with the pump, which actually is in the front. Forget what I said, it's only the motor that's in the rear for the wiper arm. I don't know if the tube's blocked or if there's a problem with the actual unit back here. So let's take the hose off and see whether it's spraying out of the tube. We'll just test a few things. Did you see that? There's nothing wrong with the tube, and there is definitely fluid getting to the back of the car. Why isn't it getting out of the unit? That's what I'm afraid of, if I've got some kind of nasty blockage inside the actual unit. So one thought I've just had is, we've got the old unit. I might disassemble this, see if we can see what the internal shape is like, so we can get an idea on whether it can be opened up and cleaned. I don't know if it can, so let's give it a whirl. Got nothing to lose on this unit. Right. And that's what the inside looks like. So that's where it sprays out onto the window. And this is the inner parts of it. So this is all the sort of worm mechanism here for running the wiper arm. And then so that's all it is really. It's just a little reservoir. So I'm guessing I can see straight through that if I look straight down the hole. You probably can't. So this shaft is completely straight all the way through, just straight through to a reservoir where the inlet is. So it's just a case of cleaning it out, I guess. Okay, that bit is not blocked. This bit is the straight through bit. What I've just used is a bit of solder. It's the only thing I've got thin enough that it'll go straight through, just to push through the hole. Aha! And that gunky bit there is what's come out. That might have solved it all. In fact, it has. I can see straight through there now. Right, reassemble, get it on, should be good. Better. Right, reassembled, off we go. Right, now that the mechanism's working fine, I'm just going to put a bit of 3-in-1, always handy, on the hinge, just so that it's moving nicely. It's actually pretty free moving anyway. What I've actually just done is coat the whole thing with a bit of 3-in-1 oil, just as a temporary guard. It'll protect against any more rust in the meantime. Plus this is nice and easily movable now. Also did the spring at the same time, just give it a little coating. Let's reattach the spring and get it just positioned the wiper arm level with the sort of everlasting marks on the glass that will probably never completely go. It's a 13mm socket, just do it up nice and tight. Awesome. Right, all we're going to do now is put the spoiler back on, put the trim back on, and wait for our nozzle attachment that we're going to try out, which is hopefully going to sort of redirect it in a right angle onto the actual glass. Otherwise, I'm going to have to spend 50 or 60 quid on a full wiper arm.